Okay. Good morning. Welcome to the Lorain County Board of Commissioners meeting of May 26, 2021. This meeting will now come to order. We will rise for the Pledge of Allegiance and the invocation. I
pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
And our inspirational word for the day comes from Psalm, "Go to the Lord for help and worship him continually."
Thank you, Commissioner Lundy. Madam Clerk, please call the roll.
Commissioner Hung.
Here.
Commissioner Moore.
Here.
Commissioner Lundy.
I'm here.
Okay. A, resolutions.
Number 1, investments.
Move to approve.
Second.
Motion was made by Hung, seconded by Moore. Any discussion from the board? Madam Clerk, please call the roll.
Commissioner Hung.
Yes.
Commissioner Moore.
Aye.
Commissioner Lundy.
Aye.
Number 2, appropriations.
Move to approve.
Second.
Motion was made by Hung, seconded by Moore. Any discussion from the board? Clerk, please call the roll.
Commissioner Hung.
Yes.
Commissioner Moore.
Aye.
Commissioner Lundy.
Aye.
Number 3, transfers.
Move to approve.
Second.
Motion was made by Hung, seconded by Moore. Any discussion from the board? Madam Clerk, please call the roll.
Commissioner Hung.
Yes.
Commissioner Moore.
Aye.
Commissioner Lundy.
Aye.
Number 4, advances and repayments. There were none. Number 5, requisitions.
Move to approve.
Second.
Motion was made by Hung, seconded by Moore. Any discussion from the board? Madam Clerk, please call the roll.
Commissioner Hung.
Yes.
Commissioner Moore.
Aye.
Commissioner Lundy.
Aye.
Number 6, travel.
Move to approve.
Second.
Motion was made by Hung, seconded by Moore. Any discussion from the board? Nice to see travel again, second week in a row. Madam Clerk, please call the roll.
Commissioner Hung.
Yes.
Commissioner Moore.
Aye.
Commissioner Lundy.
Aye.
Number
No.
7, oh, sorry.
That's okay. Bills.
Move to approve.
Tired. Second.
Motion was made by Hung, seconded by Moore. Any discussion from the board? Madam Clerk, please call the roll.
Commissioner Hung.
Yes.
Commissioner Moore.
Aye.
Commissioner Lundy.
Aye.
Okay, the next item of business is number 8. Authorize various personnel actions as indicated on the summary sheet for employees within the jurisdiction of the Lorain County Board of Commissioners. At the conclusion of today's board meeting, the commissioners may recess into an executive session to discuss personnel and new hires and various board appointments. Next item of business is number 9. I move to approve and waive the reading of the meeting minutes of May 19th, 2021.
Second.
Motion was made by Hung, seconded by Moore. Madam Clerk, please call the roll.
Commissioner Hung.
Yes.
Commissioner Moore.
Aye.
Commissioner Lundy.
Aye.
Okay, moving on to community development. Next item of business is number 10. Madam Clerk, please read the resolution into the record.
Accept the recommendations of the Tax Incentive Review Council for 8 tax abatement agreements and 34 TIFs that are in compliance to be continued for another year.
Move to approve.
Second.
Motion was made by Hung, seconded by Moore. Any discussion from the board?
I just, Madam President, for the sake of educating the public, we review these tax incentives that are provided to businesses in the county. And what's important to point out is that when these incentives are provided, there are understandings that are put in place concerning especially job commitments and investment commitments. These are reviewed on a regular basis, and there are provisions for clawbacks should individuals not meet those conditions. As I've always said, I don't think anybody in government goes out looking for a clawback, and we also understand that factors in the economy change. Different industries go through ups and downs, and sometimes it's easy to meet those commitments. Sometimes it's not possible to meet them because of some extraneous circumstances. But these have been reviewed. Everybody seems to be in line, and there's no need for any clawbacks. And so we're glad to see that everybody's meeting the commitments that they've made.
Thank you, Commissioner Lundy. This resolution is recapping our Tax Incentive Review Council recommendations for active tax increment financing and enterprise zone projects in the county outside of the cities of Lorain and Elyria. The Review Council consists of appointees from Lorain County Commissioners and auditor with representatives from the city and school districts. Those companies receiving abatements were present to review the milestones for job creation and investment in all projects reviewed by the Review Council were found to be in compliance and were recommended for continuation for another year. Okay, Madam Clerk, please call the roll.
Commissioner Hung?
Yes.
Commissioner Moore?
Aye.
Commissioner Lundy.
Aye.
Next item of business is number 11. Madam Clerk, please read the resolution into the record.
Award contracts for homeowners to receive grant assistance from CHIP Program Year 20 home repair activities for home repair assistance, which includes contingencies for any unforeseen change orders. These were the most responsive, complying with specifications, and will be paid from CHIP Program Year 20 contract services for numbers 1 through 3, and CHIP Program 18 contract services account for number 4. Number 1, Green Home Solutions Cleveland in the amount of $43,725 for Gail Calkins at 111 Inglewood Drive, Avon Lake, for roof replacement, gable vents, soffit and fascia, rear steps, AC replacement, water heater, basement handrail, subcrack cover, and electrical rewire. 2, GenMet Construction, Inc., Lorraine, in the amount of $52,387 for Tammy and Bobby Bartman at 5665 Lear Nagel Road, North Ridgeville, for electrical rewire, window replacement, basement windows, exterior steps, bathtub flooring, AC replacement, water heater repairs, mob sink, kitchen cabinets. Number 3, Green Home Solutions Cleveland, in the amount of $38,940 for Loretta Rico at 41645 Northwood Street, Elyria, for electrical repair, hose bib, doors, windows, revent water heater, clean tune furnace, plumbing repairs, ADA shower, flooring, gutters. And number 4, GenMet Construction, Inc., Lorraine, in the amount of $41,464 for Nicholas Swinsid at 26 Locust Street, Oberlin, for electrical upgrades, porch railings, exterior steps, basement door, handrail, dry well repairs, furnace and water heater repairs, lead abatement windows, porch, overhangs, basement windows, and interior window seals.
Move to approve.
Second.
Motion was made by Hung, seconded by Moore. Any discussion from the board?
If I could, I just wanted to point out that, this is always a little bit of a source of frustration, trying to get more contractors to bid on these projects. And certainly, we like to see Lorraine County contractors as well step in and compete for these. Unfortunately, I think we only had 2 companies that were expressing an interest in this latest round. I guess I just want to say that, we'll walk you through the process if you'll come in, and we'll meet with you and walk you through it. It's not as complicated as it may look. I think the big thing is you have to be out there the day of the inspection to walk through and take a look at everything for your bid to actually be eligible. I know I went through an audit the other day with our community development department and the consultants that we have on hand, and there's a couple in here that were accepted that are actually the higher bid. The law talks about lowest or best bid, but the other contractor did not have all the paperwork in order. The tabulations were not correct, and that's what led to the decision. However, at the end of the day, all of these estimates came in, all these bids rather came in, which were sealed bids, by the way, came in below what we estimated the cost would be. So everything here is in compliance. It was interesting because we were all scratching our heads. One came in $10 lower than the other. You rarely see it that close when it comes to a bid, but that's what came in on the sealed bids. And so I would just say again that please, if you're a contractor in Lorraine County or in the region, take a look at our CHIP program, contact our community development department. We'd like you to get a chance to bid on these. And the thing about government, sometimes we're a slow pay, but you do get paid. As long as you don't walk away from the project, you'll get paid for it. So just like to see more participation. I think that's been an ongoing challenge for years.
Okay. We have 4 CHIP community housing and impact preservation projects. 3 of them are from fiscal year 20, and the 4th a carryover from 2018. And I understand that these homeowners have been waiting patiently, and they, of course, have a sense of urgency to get their projects going, and I'm happy for them to get this moving along so they can get their projects started. We have a good representation of areas in our county. One of the projects is in Avon Lake, one is in North Ridgeville, one in Elyria, and one in Oberlin. And I would like to thank Mr. Drake Hopewell yet again for all his hard work on this. You do a great job, sir, so thank you. Good. Okay, Madam Clerk, please call the roll.
Commissioner Hung?
Yes.
Commissioner Moore?
Aye.
Commissioner Lundy.
Aye.
Okay, Crime Lab / Coroner. The next item of business is number 12. Madam Clerk, please read the resolution into the record.
Decision on declaring it necessary to levy a tax in excess of 10 mil limitation to provide funds for 5 years for the criminal justice services under section 307.45A7 for the support of the county crime lab, and section 307.45A6 county coroner, to be placed on November 2nd, 2021 ballot for the duplicate year 2021, collectible in 2022, and a decision for either .26 mil additional, .28 mil additional, or .30 mil additional.
Okay, so I will move to open discussion on this resolution. Can I get a second?
Second.
Okay. Do you need a roll call, Madam Clerk?
I believe so. Commissioner Hung?
Is opening.
We're just-
Oh,
Yes,
just
we're
opening
opening discussion.
Yeah, no,
Okay, so we're open.
yep.
Okay,
Good
Mr.
morning.
County Administrator.
So with this levy, what we're doing is we're looking for additional funds that's going to help our coroner and also help the crime lab. As I mentioned before, with the crime lab, they're not a certified lab. Currently, they're housed down in the basement of the administration building. By going through and having a levy for them, we're going to be able to move them into a secure location, have a permanent home, be able to get a certified lab, which is going to stop the unnecessary additional testing. There was a case that our director was talking about where they went through, they did the testing of the drugs, they got the results, and then they said, okay, well, you're not certified, so we got to send it somewhere else. And it came back, and it was exactly what they said. So we got very capable people in our department. But now we need to go through and get the funds in order to get the additional equipment, but also getting a permanent home, which is one of the major requirements in order to become a certified lab. In addition to this, we're going to use it for the coroner. The coroner is now housed in the city of Oberlin. We are looking at moving them to a building that we own here in Elyria. We're hoping to have that done by the end of summer. But there's other things that need to go through. We need to go and prep the building. He would like to have a portable morgue, like a refrigerated unit that could be in the building that they don't currently have, in case there's a situation that they need to go through and put the body in there for a small period of time. But by doing these levies, we are going to be giving the crime lab and the coroner the tools necessary in order to be effective at their job and to be able to handle the work for a county of our size. So with this one, with the work that's got to go in, with the permit locations and the equipment that's going to be needed, I would ask for the larger of the mills. I think it comes down to about 88 cents a month, roughly for a $100,000 home or something like that. But it's going to go to great use, and it's going to make sure that we have the requirements that our residents come to expect for a large county. Any questions?
My understanding is that you're asking for more money for the coroner, correct?
In crime lab, it's a combined. Most of it will go towards,
The coroner is funded through our general fund, correct?
yeah.
Is there any money coming from mills or anything for the coroner?
Could you repeat that?
Does 100% of his funding general fund money?
It's general fund money on that. The crime lab, there is,
I'm just talking coroner
Okay.
right now, okay? Will this alleviate, are you talking about number 3, the .3 mil? Will that alleviate the general fund from us funding
Yes.
the coroner? 100%, correct?
correct.
So we'll save money in the general fund, and the crime lab,
Also has some money that comes from the general fund.
some money?
Some money, yeah, you get some from the drug task force, and then we have to go through and kick in additional money from the general fund to cover costs that doesn't come from that levy.
What about the expenses with the coroner, though? I mean, are we bringing him back here?
Yes,
Because we're paying rent, we're paying all sorts of stuff in Oberlin.
correct, and we have a building that the county owns.
We do?
Yes. So it's the old Columbia Gas Building here on,
Oh, across the street?
across the street from us on 3rd Street.
Wow.
So, but it's in rough repair though, too. We need to go through, we need to update the parking lot. We're gonna need to put a fence around that facility as the coroner and his team come in at all hours of the day. And we wanna make sure that when they're coming in, that they're secure as well.
But has that building been updated since,
Not really.
I hate to say this, but I voted to update that 22 years, or 20
Yeah.
years ago. And we did such an excellent job at keeping the expenses low to keep that building, operational. It's kind of sad to see the money we spent, and that's an empty building. So is it, cause I know it's kind of from the late 60s, early, style.
Yeah.
So it doesn't have an elevator, so are we gonna be okay with that?
We'll be okay with it because the majority of the work will be done on the lower levels, which would be able to accommodate anyone with a handicap. Able bodies would be able to go upstairs and use it. You know, I wanted to sell that building, but unless we're gonna give it away, no one's gonna buy it because of the situation you stated without the elevator. And to go through and put an elevator in there, a true elevator, I mean, we're talking,
No, I
$50,000,
know.
$60,000 to go through, which is something that potentially we could do. But with the requirements, talking with the coroner and what they're looking for, I don't believe we would be required to put an elevator in at this time.
So who's gonna campaign for this? Who's gonna market this? Who's gonna be in charge of telling the public why they need this? We only have 200 people averaging watching our meetings.
Right.
And they're gonna need more than 200 votes.
Well, you're not gonna like my answer, but that's everybody, because this is something that's needed for the county. But one of what are probably best advocates for this is our director for the crime lab. You got to see her firsthand at the Township Association meeting, go through and explain the needs of the crime lab. Positive energy, educated, knows the ins and outs of it, and just very passionate about her department. My recommendation is she would be the face of it because she's the one that's interacting with the FBI, local police, the sheriff's department, and then, everything else that we can potentially do with this by, doing our fingerprinting for employees, drug testing for employees, everything else that comes in, and potentially even allowing parents that would be able to bring in individuals, their kids, to get drug tested, so.
But you haven't mentioned the elected official yet.
Well, the coroner will also have to do it. I would, again, my recommendation would be also the prosecutor. I believe he would support this. I haven't talked to the sheriff, but the sheriff utilizes the services. He should be someone that's out there. And again, a big benefit is going to be for the Board of Commissioners, so I would be out there. I would hope all 3 commissioners would be out there.
But you haven't answered, is the coroner supportive of this?
The coroner would be part of this. He would
I know
have to
you're
be.
not answering it.
What's that?
Does the coroner support this?
That I don't know.
Okay, then that's all I wanted to hear then.
Yeah.
Okay. I'm sorry, don't mean to be dominating the conversation, folks.
No, I was watching your cross-examination.
Yeah,
I was jealous there for a minute.
Just to let you guys know, Tom didn't know I was gonna do any of this stuff, so I'm sorry if I caught you off guard. But
Your
Wait,
questioning makes
yeah.
sense, Commissioner, because we'll need to work to get this done. Even though, we see the price difference per 100,000 home is 76 cents, 82 cents, or 88 cents a month, but still there's work to be done to get it passed.
But it costs a lot, it costs money to do something like this, and I don't wanna sit there and I don't even know if the coroner wants us to do this. And he may say, you know what, I like it in Oberlin, I'm not moving to Elyria. Okay, that has nothing to do with financial, like our financial responsibility to the taxpayer.
cut his
And
budget by 100,000, he'll be supportive.
He'll cut it, what's that?
Yeah, because it comes out of the general fund. It's a joke.
Oh, okay.
I see the prosecutor over there ready to strangle me, but no, it's a joke.
Yeah,
It's a
we have that
benefit
look
for the
every day,
county.
Tom, so.
And as I haven't spoken to the coroner, but on this particular one, but talking with him in general, the coroner is somebody that does want a better service for the county. And by doing this, I believe he would be supportive.
You believe he would be
I
supportive?
believe. So,
My fear is that we vote on something that doesn't have 100% support, and then that's my fear. That's all.
well,
I'm
we
saying.
can always, you can put this on hold and I can go back and I can ask him.
Well, we're talking about a .26, .28, and .30.
Yeah.
Okay, which one doesn't include the coroner? The .26?
I believe everything on here right now is including the crime lab and the coroner. So if we want, we could remove the coroner. However, that's a large part of the general fund budget. Those, as you're aware.
Well, I would prefer to have it combined. I
Yeah.
really would, but I'm not, we don't know if the coroner would like to participate. The last thing we want to do is vote on something without his participation and his input. That's my own opinion, though. Okay?
Yeah,
But honestly, I think financially it makes more sense to do a levy. So I think people are more apt to support levies if they know where the money's going, instead of just saying a levy for the county to use. So I would love to see just a line item or a millage that goes directly to the coroner, so that every 5 years they can say, here's what we're doing. People are more receptive, I believe, if they know we're voting for, mental health. We're voting for the coroner. I understand that's the concept, but I'm afraid that if we don't have 100% buy-in, that we could be hurting ourselves and wasting a lot of time and energy. That's just my humble opinion, though.
Thank you. Commissioner Lundy?
Yeah, well, I think the important thing is that we have full support of the board, that all three of the commissioners are certainly out there, educating the public and behind it. When you don't have a united front, it's not going to fly very well. So I think that's critical. I know over the years there's been lots of talk about trying to actually have a full-fledged morgue, for the coroner, since we contract out a lot with UH on that, and actually do it the way that it should be done. So I think that's something that should always be in the mix. In the past, I always felt we should have tried to combine these two. So I think this is an approach that's a good approach. Whether it's 75 cents a month or 87 cents a month, high end to low end, it's certainly a wise investment. We're still in the midst of this epidemic. Everybody talks about the pandemic, but we still have an epidemic that's going on with the drug overdoses that are taking place. And coroner puts in a lot of time and a lot of work, and it's very vital to the investigations as well, too. The crime lab, we've known for a long time, the crime lab needs better facilities, no question about that. But you simply have to have the money to pay for it, and that's why this is so important. I don't think this is a big ask or an overreach. It's reasonable. I just want to make sure anytime that we go out and we ask, especially for additional, that we're actually able to cover the cost, so we don't look at it and say, okay, we made a 5-year commitment on this, and we're finding out in year 2 that we're not covering the costs we thought we were going to cover. So as long as we're good on that end. But it's going to take a united front, and as Commissioner Moore pointed out, rightfully so, if you can't explain to the voters how the money is going to be invested, I like to say invested instead of spent, that it's a hard sell. But I think we'll be able to do that, especially when they see firsthand changes that are needed with the crime lab, and when the coroner has a chance to tell a little bit more of his story about how this will be of help to his department in the important role he plays.
yeah, I would just say it is key to have all three commissioners on support of this. If we don't, it'll never pass. I'm using my experience as a former commissioner. If all three members aren't in support, the public won't support it.
So the price differences are the .26 for the 76 cents per 100,000, and that's per month, and the .28 is 82 cents per 100,000 a month, and the .3 mils is 88 cents per 100,000. Teresa, do we now start talking about which one we're interested in?
Correct.
I would be interested, I'll go first, in the .3 mil for the 88 cents. Gentlemen?
That's also your recommendation?
And that's my recommendation.
I support combining and having a millage for this project. I don't know if which numbers I support yet. And if the coroner isn't buying in, I don't care if it's a 3-0 vote, we're gonna have a problem. And so that's my concern, is when you answered, I don't know, then I feel that the coroner needs to have at least, whether it's in writing or an email or a discussion, on his thoughts and his needs. The crime lab, were very detailed. She wasn't asking for much. She just wanted a window so she can see what's going on outside. She's been in the basement, and we do need to get it certified. That is a need, and that is what we need. I love the concept of the public having the opportunity to support and know that their taxes are going to support the coroner and the crime lab. I like that. But there is an unknown out there. And I don't.
At this time, we're not,
Pardon?
We can wait
Can
to
we,
vote on this.
so we can, we just move to table if we want to wait a week?
Well, you only made a motion for discussion.
Well, that's
Right.
true.
So-
That is true.
So if we could somehow get some input from the coroner, like you got a lot of information for us in regards to the crime lab. Maybe kind of analyze both budgets and say, here's how much it is this year. We know there's always going to be inflation. If you don't think so, just go buy a 2x4. So the next 4 to 5 years, has that been calculated in for our staffing? Has that been calculating for is it enough money? Which one would be enough to support it for 5 years, including the purchases of the equipment? And if there is some dreams out there that maybe a morgue development, maybe that could be in the next mill renewal 5 years from now. I don't know. I mean, we talked about that 20 years ago. So
Yeah,
same
I
thing,
can't-
and-
I can tell you, we have done a evaluation for additional staff, the cost to go through in order to build out the crime lab portion of it, increase for the budgets over the years in
Okay.
order to go through. What we didn't include was having a morgue. And talking with the coroner, he said at this time, he doesn't believe that we need our own
Okay.
morgue, just because of the additional costs that go into the environmental portions of it. The hospitals are actually better set up for it, and our costs to do business with them
Okay.
is adequate. But getting that, like I said, a freezer in order to have in the department, that is something that he would like to have. But I've had discussions with him, but I haven't asked the question, will you go out and support a levy? I assume, which is dangerous, is that he would, but I can't have that conversation with him.
Okay. Thank you.
Well, better, crime lab gets these drug dealers off the street too, because undercover people will make buys, then they take it to the lab to test it to try to make sure that it's the real deal, because it's hard to go and arrest somebody and find out it's not the real deal. So it plays an important role, for the prosecutor in prosecuting these cases as well too. It plays an important role when we're trying to get people to turn their lives around and get back to their families and back to their jobs and get off their drugs. So, crime lab plays a very, very critical role with this epidemic that's been overshadowed by the pandemic that's going on. So, both are very, very important, but, I just hope we don't get into this silly discussion of, the commissioners are raising taxes. All we're doing is putting a question before the voters, and the voters can decide. Just because you put something on the ballot doesn't mean that you're pushing taxes. We're putting a question out there because there's a need, and we hope that the voters will see the need and that they'll be supportive of it. At the end of the day, they make the decision. So it's not like something's being imposed. It's just being put before the voters for a decision. But, this is the cost of government. We got to be able to cover our cost, otherwise you end up with a, crime lab in the basement and something that needs to be certified.
If I may add on that, one of the services that they want to do is going to be helpful for a parent. Being able to bring in something to have your kid drug tested, if you're thinking that, hey, they're doing something, even to just keep them honest to make sure, that's a service that's going to be available. And
Really?
well, you know what? As a parent, you can do everything you want.
I know.
It just, having that little threat sometimes helps. And talking with parents, it would be a nice service for them, so. All right.
Well,
Any other questions for
I
me?
guess if I'm hearing correctly, it sounds like there's some reservations because we want to make sure the coroner is on board, and we don't have to make a decision on this really to the
Correct.
Board of Elections till August, right? So, I mean, don't we have some time to work with yet? Or
I
prior
have to
to
submit
August?
it by August, so we have to do it in July
In July? It'd have to be done in
at the
July.
latest.
So another week's not going to,
No.
Correct.
No.
Another week's not going to hurt.
so I don't have a problem waiting another week if my colleagues want to wait another week and get some more answers.
Oh, that's fine with me.
Okay, are you all set, Commissioner Moore? Okay, so I will move to close discussion.
Second.
Okay, thank you.
And then we'll
Thank
make a
you.
motion to table this until, we're going to say next week, but it may be later.
You just table it, and then
We're
you
just
can,
going to make a motion to table it.
just a motion to table, and then you take it from the table when you're ready.
Okay. Okay, can I get a second?
Second.
Okay. Do you need a, okay, Madam Clerk, please call the roll on the
Mr. Hahn?
motion to table. Yes.
Mr. Moore?
Yes.
Commissioner Lundy.
Yes.
Okay, Job and Family Services. The next item of business is number 13. Madam Clerk, please read the resolution into the record.
Authorized purchase service agreement with Boys and Girls Club of Northeast Ohio, Lorraine, in the amount of $137,212.05 for mentoring and tutoring for low-income Lorraine County children using TANF funds effective July 1st, 2021 through September 30th, 2021, and paid from TANF funds account.
Move to approve.
Second.
Motion was made by Hung, seconded by Moore. Any discussion from the board? Madam Clerk, please call the roll.
Commissioner Hung?
Yes.
Commissioner Moore?
Aye.
Commissioner Lundy.
Aye.
Next item of business is number 14.
Authorized purchase service agreement with Big Brothers Big Sisters of Lorraine County, Lorraine, in the amount of $61,892.02 for mentoring and tutoring for low-income Lorraine County children using TANF funds effective July 1st, 2021 through September 30th, 2021, and will be paid from the TANF funds account.
Move to approve.
Second.
Motion was made by Hung, seconded by Moore. Any discussion from the board? Madam Clerk, please call the roll.
Commissioner Hung?
Yes.
Commissioner Moore?
Aye.
Commissioner Lundy.
Aye.
Next item of business is number 15.
Authorized purchase service agreement with Job and Family Services and Horizon Education Center, North Olmsted, in the amount of $17,049.70 for mentoring and tutoring for low-income Lorraine County children using TANF funds, effective July 1st, 2021 through September 30th, 2021, and will be paid from the TANF funds account.
Move to approve.
Second.
Motion was made by Hung, seconded by Moore. Any discussion from the board? Madam Clerk, please call the roll.
Commissioner Hung?
Yes.
Commissioner Moore?
Aye.
Commissioner Lundy.
Aye.
Sorry. The executive director of the Boys and Girls Club is trying to call me, probably asking, hey, can you support us?
Oh, geez.
I'm sitting there looking over here, what, Mike? So I'm like,
Okay, Madam
maybe he
Clerk,
wants more money. Maybe that's what it, maybe it wasn't enough.
Madam Clerk, please call the roll.
Sorry.
I did.
Oh, you did?
This vote.
Oh, sorry.
Yeah, we're on
Okay.
number- yeah.
We're going on to
16.
16.
Okay.
Next item of business is number 16.
Authorized purchase service agreement with Tower Educational Consulting Group, Inc., Lorraine, in the amount of $31,728.02 for mentoring and tutoring for low-income Lorraine County children using TANF funds, effective July 1st, 2021 through September 30th, 2021, and will be paid from the TANF funds account.
Move to approve.
Second.
Motion was made by Hung, seconded by Moore. Any discussion from the board? Hey, Madam Clerk, please call the roll.
Commissioner Hung?
Yes.
Commissioner Moore?
Yes.
Commissioner Lundy.
Aye.
Okay, Solid Waste Management District. I think we have some good news coming. The next item of business is number 17.
Approve the 2021 Community Incentive Grant Funding Request in the amount of $450,000 for local governments in the county that are to be paid as a reimbursable from grants account.
Move to approve.
Second?
Motion was made by Hung, seconded by Moore. Any discussion from the board?
Yes, if I could, Madam President?
We've got Director
Oh, okay.
Blevins here.
Yes.
Good morning. Thank you for the opportunity. So I'd like to talk about the purpose of the program. So the purpose of the Community Incentive Grant Program is to assist communities to strive for and exceed Ohio's goal of 25%, or recycling of 25% of materials generated in the residential sector. In 2018, the Lorraine County Policy Committee upped our goal to 35%, so we are held to a higher standard than the rest of the state. The communities are encouraged to use incentive grant funds to increase residential recycling rates. Some of the strategies to increase these rates are through residential education and awareness programs. This is particularly important due to the high percentages of contamination in residential recycling. Items being thrown into the containers that can't be recycled. Pizza boxes that are greasy, light bulbs, hoses, Christmas lights, things like that. We need to stand by the adage, when in doubt, throw it out. So when you go to your recycling bin and you have an idea, but not sure, throw it in the regular trash. The contamination rates get higher than 35%. It gets put right into the landfill. So Republic will take it and put it right into the landfill, which is defeating the purpose. So if we can educate people better on the process of recycling and what goes in and what shouldn't go in, we're all successful. We need to use more social media marketing. We need to provide recycling opportunities for residents in multifamily housing units. So we are currently working on a pilot program in the city of Elyria and Lorraine. Gentleman owns both buildings, one 42 units, one 52 units, and managed by one individual. So we're working with them to help educate the residents in these multifamily apartment buildings, provide recycling containers, and we will do a survey before and a survey after, and we can learn at the district and learn in how to better recycle in multifamily housing. It's something the state has done, but it's the first time we've ever done in the district, so we're looking forward to it. We are also looking for activities and programs to target and provide recycling opportunities to the underserved residents and groups. So in the city of Lorraine, we are going to be doing a tagging program. The mailing will go out in the next week. It will be in English and Spanish. It will tell specifically how to recycle, what can go into these recycling bins. We will have signage and individuals that will take these curbside recycling bins, dump them out and survey them. So we will do a survey at the beginning, we will do the education, and then we'll do a survey at the end and see what the percentages are. So hopefully it's effective in our message. So we also like to see some of the money spent on equipment to enhance and expand recycling. So that is also very vital. Each political subdivision receiving an incentive grant is required to complete reports as requested by the district on the use of the funds and the amounts of recycled materials. So I know you guys are interested in the formula on how we fund it. The grant funding for political subdivisions is based on the quantity of material recycled by each community as a ratio of the total residential recycling tons collected by a political subdivision, as well as the amount of grants funding available. Communities using a cart system will be credited 100% of the curbside and drop-off recycling tons for each calendar year. As an example, $450,000, which would be the incentive grant this year, is divided by 16,074.13 tons, which comes out to $28 per ton. So in the city of Amherst, number one on the list here, that equates to $27,928.11. So that's the incentive grant that they will be allowed to apply for. And they can use that for education, they can use that for machinery and the process of getting recycling done. So, and each community, we have our printout. They will know in the next week as to how much money that they are available to apply for. So they're reimbursement funds. They would spend the money and then we would reimburse them. So any questions? Dave, or Commissioner Moore, I'm sorry.
Whoever wants to go first.
Okay, what I found interesting in speaking with you in the past in regards to this is, when in doubt, throw it out. I mean, that's a good line. The problem, what I learned is, if some of these, if you're using your recycle bin just as an overflow for your trash, which I have seen, when you drive around, you can tell,
Right.
that's not just that one bin. That contaminates the whole recycled vehicle, correct?
Correct.
And at that point, they dump the whole thing into our landfill, correct?
Correct.
And when they do that, we lose money that we can give back to the schools and the community, is that correct?
That's correct.
Okay.
And there is an upcharge. So in the city of Elyria, they may be charging $25 per ton for recyclables. Well, when it gets contaminated and it goes to the landfill, it's upwards of 75 or more. So it's 3 times the cost. The city of Elyria can't afford that, and nobody should have to. So we need to do a better job educating the public.
And I think that's what needs to be, how do you explain that, when it's like, I love when in doubt, throw it out, but, the bottom line is, it's hurting. People got to figure out that, look at when you see these projects going on around the community, it's because of the people are not contaminated. These are true recyclables, and so hopefully I commend you and your staff on the job you guys have done. The fact that, I think, what was it, the record year was what, 2018?
Correct.
For what was for recycling, or was it for, it was,
The 2018 was the record year for automobiles coming through the collection center.
that's what it was, okay.
And we've already surpassed that
Yeah.
this year. So in 5 months,
Yeah.
we have done more cars. We've broken a record, set in 2018 So
For the
we
whole
will-
year, 2018 was a whole year.
Yeah, that was a whole year.
And what would you attribute that to, would you say?
I think social media and letting people know, the word of mouth gets around.
No, you're being modest. I think you did a lot more than that. You've changed the traffic patterns because people were backed up on Abbey.
Right.
I mean, there's just simple little things that you've done and your team has done that, when we went out there for the sheriff's new vehicle, it was pretty impressive.
Right, it's a very efficient way to run the center right now, so everybody's happy with that, and it opens itself to a multitude of things that we can do there, so.
Yeah. And a
we
few
have some
people
other ideas.
internally knew I was not a big fan of that. I'm looking at her.
Right, well, we're
But
changing your opinion.
I am impressed,
Yeah.
and you guys have sold me, so how's that?
Wonderful, thank you.
Can I just ask a question real quick before Commissioner Lundy? I had somebody ask me last night what your hours of operation are there. If you could just review that for us
Sure,
quickly.
so on Wednesdays, we are open from 12 until 6, and on Saturdays, we are open from 10 until 3. 9 to 3. We will be opening in July on Mondays again, so I see a need to expand our hours.
That was
we
the
were-
question he had for me
Okay,
last
we
night,
were
if you were going to
open
expand
on
the
Mondays,
hours.
and then after the pandemic decided not to, we were still taking the same amount of volume as far as tonnage and vehicles through. But at this point, we've really exploded, so it's best to open, and that will probably happen on July 12th, will be our open day, so just after the holiday.
Okay, thank you. Commissioner Lundy.
Yeah, no, I really like the message of when in doubt, throw it out. I guess we should point out for parents that doesn't apply to unruly teenagers.
Right.
But anyhow, I know I had a discussion with you the other day and with Tiffany as well too, because I was looking at the report for our incentive grants that are being provided, and I'm quite alarmed about the drop-off in the city of Elyria. I know when we go back to 2015, you'll see a funding amount that was around $66,900. Over the years, that has dropped to just over $44,000 in 2016 and 2017. Then it came back up, as you said, 2018 was a pretty productive year at $67,000. 2019, $56,000. 2020, just over $47,000. And then in 2021, $12,774. 456 tons there compared to what was 66,000, I guess, in the past. So, so there's a trend there. I guess there must be a lot of contamination that's taking place. And I know that we had a discussion. We're working through a lot of things now with solid waste and recycling center, but it's the hope that come the fall that maybe we can do some outreach and and see, because that's a noticeable drop off for them. I know that even in Oberlin, it's almost like cut in half. They were 23,000 in 2020, and now they're down to just over $12,000 in 2021. So I don't know, those communities may need to get into them and do an education
Right.
program. I see Tiffany's got her hand raised back there. You want to come up to the podium? You'll need to be at the podium.
Yeah.
Last year, the city of Oberlin discontinued their curbside
Okay,
recycling
so that's
program.
the reason.
So that was the reason for
Okay.
their drop-off. And when they did resume it, they did an opt-in program. So the residents that really wanted to do it and recycle right signed up. They had to verify with an email address. There's communication and correspondence with the political subdivision. And last night, I reached out to the city of Oberlin to ask for their tonnage numbers for this first quarter this year to compare to last year and see where they fall. So that might be the way to go in reference to Elyria, is maybe do an opt-in, not necessarily community-wide, but maybe target certain wards and just kind of see what's going to fit, because it's not a cookie-cutter solution for every community. But if this helped the city of Oberlin do a reset and get their numbers back on track going forward, it might work for Elyria as well.
Yeah, I know that was discussed the other day. You know, as I said, Elyria in 2019 was at just under 2,000 tons, and now they're down to 456. And I mean, that just puts them barely ahead of even Eaton Township.
Right.
So obviously, it just kind of jumped off the page that there's something not right there, and we probably need to sit down with them and, have some discussions and see if we can get in maybe in the fall and start doing some education program, and
Sure.
It would be very helpful. The only reason this is a little close to my heart, I used to manage this program when I worked for the city of Elyria, and I remember back then, that was in the early 2000s, I guess, I thought we were getting somewhere close to almost 50,000, I think, back then, and it was very helpful with a lot of things that the city needed to take care of. So, but to drop from 66.9, almost $67,000 in 2015, and now we're down to 12.7, that seems alarming to me.
It
So
is alarming, dropping 60% in one
Right.
year. And we did meet with Safety Service Director Brubaker and the sanitation engineer Rodney I. And we discussed, we didn't have their numbers at that time, nor did they. That was totally alarming when we did get them. So the conversation is open, and we'll continue speaking with them. I would imagine that we'll have to go in and do a survey, target a certain area, and it may be that we do an opt-in in Elyria, just like we did Oberlin. They're both self-haul communities. That's not part of the issue. I just think it's all about the education and the willingness to recycle. It's a shame that when somebody does the recycling exactly right, their garbage may be thrown into the landfill because their next door neighbor is throwing 2x4s in there, or things that just can't be recycled. When in doubt, throw it out. We're gonna try and hammer that home. But if that doesn't work, it may be an opt-in and then grow from there. So maybe hit a reset, and we'll see. I'd hate to limit any more recycling, because then we get people in a frame of mind and it doesn't work that well. So I think opting in is the best thing, but we're gonna try education and see if that works first.
Well, go ahead.
I'm
No,
sorry.
if you've seen, you go to you'll see these standalone bins all over the community, and they have a list of what's allowed in the recycle, which I'm surprised, we haven't worked out a program in which it says, you can say, when in doubt, throw it out, but then have the bullet points of what should be recycled.
Right.
I mean, I don't know if that would help or not, but usually you see that all over the communities with these big dumpsters.
Right.
I'm wondering why we don't do the same.
And one of my ideas is to put signage on the cans themselves,
what I mean,
stickers
yeah.
that say, this is allowable, this is not.
Exactly.
We don't own the cans, so I have to negotiate with the haulers. They don't want to fail
know.
at recycling either, so the
Right.
conversations are open, and we will see what we can come up with.
And
When we send a postcard to somebody, they read it for a minute and then they throw it away.
yeah,
When you walk out to the can and you see on there, do not put that paint can in there, okay, good, I'll put it in well, you won't put it in regular trash, it goes to hazardous household waste, but as an example, you see it and you won't do it, so.
Well, why don't you bring up the other issue or the other program you're reinstituting for the,
The revolving recycling loan fund.
well, okay, you can, I was talking about the tractor tires, but.
Farm tire.
We can talk
We
about
can
that
do
too.
both.
The agricultural tire roundup will be in September, so that's something that's been, neglected for 4 years. We did get a lot of calls. You can't really take the tires to the collection center. We only accept automobile tires. So we are doing a roundup in September, and it is a great service to the farmers in the area. Tractor tires are hard to get rid of. They end up buried, they end up thrown in ponds, they end up burned. So we will have a roundup in September. They can call and register after September 2nd. And Tiffany will be driving a tractor and a Bobcat, loading them into the semi-trailers, and they will be recycled the proper way. It will approximately cost the district $40,000 to do this, but it is a service that needs to be done. So next year we will write for a grant through the Ohio EPA to fund it, but that will be in 2022. But we're looking forward to that.
Yes.
And if you don't mind, I can
No,
talk
go
about
ahead.
this. Recycling revolving loan fund is basically a loan to somebody, a business in the community that is in the recycling business or using product that is recycled. So Turtle Plastics is somebody that I've spoken to recently in Lorraine, and everything that they make cribbage for first responders, and they also make flooring for weight rooms and inside fire equipment to lay it out. It is all made from milk jugs. So it's really a very interesting organization, and they are looking to expand perhaps in the county, and we would like to partner with them. So the revolving loan fund has been kind of defunct for probably 4 years, so we're reinstituting it, putting the committee together, and trying to get the guidelines for the loans. The percentage at last was 3% below prime, so at this point, we'd be paying them to take the money. So next week, I'm going to meet with the auditor and treasurer and see what an appropriate percentage would be to charge for these. So we're excited about that.
Picking up on our earlier discussion with City of Elyria, and I don't know if you know the exact amounts. I don't, and I don't want to put you on the spot. We can always get the information later, but
Okay.
The public needs to be aware that when you contaminate these loads, that the city actually ends up paying contamination fees. So I don't know what those amounts are. Do you have any idea what the amounts are that they pay on contamination fees per ton?
It goes from $25 per ton to $75.
Okay.
So it's twice the cost. So when we discuss doing an opt-in, well, not only are we recycling better, we won't be getting those upcharges, fees. So we have to talk to the city of Elyria, and every community has this problem, whether it's Avon Lake or Avon. Elyria it just jumped off the page at us this year. So and Rodney had told me that was going to happen. So we will discuss with them. Tiffany, can you add?
In reference to the communication and the education for recycling and the when in doubt, throw it out campaign, we have a mailing, excuse me, that's going out within the next week to the city of Lorraine. And it's not just the verbiage as to what goes in the recycling bin, but it's the pictures and images as well. And we also have an insert that's going in this week for the Ridgeville Review. So a lot of times people will see something and that'll resonate longer because they actually have the image as opposed to reading it on paper. So we're trying different aspects to find something that's going to click with all of the residents.
And the other thing, I guess, is that, with these labels, I guess I've always had a little bit of a reservation about the labels from the standpoint of, was it Remke may do something different than Republic?
Correct.
So Republic may say, we're going to pick this up, but Remke says no. And then I almost feel like, we would get blamed because they're saying, well, you sent us a sticker that said you're going to take this or take that, but now Remke's not taking it, or Republic's not taking it. The other factor at play here, and a lot of folks don't know the behind-the-scenes story and the inside baseball, is that these markets on recyclables are constantly changing. I mean, there are things that end up costing money, as we were pointing out, even on the ag tires or whatever. There's just some things that actually end up costing you money to recycle.
Oh, sure. It's an incredible amount of our budget goes to recycling. So the tires we pay per ton to have those recycled. We take oil and antifreeze, you know, we take Roundup and everything else that comes in. We take fertilizer. So, and a lot of the times, these are unused, you know, items. There's paint that comes in. The paint goes and it is recycled into paint again. So that's nice. It stays out of the landfill. I'd like to see, in the future at the collection center, you know, an area where we can do our own recycling. So here comes a gallon of paint that was never used. We put it in a shed and somebody goes by and they can use it, they can use it. My first day I went down and toured and there were 3 30-pound bags of fertilizer, weed and feed that had not been opened, you know? And I have to pay, the district has to pay for that to get recycled. Well, I just soon give an opportunity to give it to a non-for-profit or somebody in the community that could use it, as opposed to pay, you know, $60 to have it recycled. So that's also something we're thinking about doing.
Yeah, because folks need to understand that the margins on these things are pretty tight. I mean,
yeah.
it's either a little bit that's made, or it's taking loss, or just trying to cut your losses sometimes. So
Right.
that's why I just get concerned about the, you know, the labels. If we do those, I think we should always say, you know, make sure you refer to your local hauler or whatever for
Right.
specific
As part of the
guidelines.
incentive grants.
Right.
When they accept money, they have to have a website that explains specifically what you can put in there,
Right.
and contact information is for questions and whatnot.
Okay, well, thanks for coming in and sharing, and
Okay, thank you.
do we have to vote now?
Yes, Madam Clerk, please call the roll.
Commissioner Hung?
Yes.
Commissioner Moore?
Aye.
Commissioner Lundy.
Aye.
I make a motion for a 5-minute break, if that's okay?
Yes, I will second that.
Okay.
Madam Clerk, please call the roll.
Commissioner Moore?
Aye.
Commissioner Hung?
Yes.
Commissioner Lundy.
Yes.
Yeah, we already voted for that there.
Okay, we are back from recess and our meeting is back in session. Children's Services, the next item of business is number 18. Madam Clerk, please read the resolution into the record.
Rescind authorization of various personnel who utilize the agency's MasterCard for the year 2021.
Move to approve.
Second.
Motion was made by Hung, seconded by Moore. Any discussion from the board? Madam Clerk, please call the roll.
Commissioner Hung?
Yes.
Commissioner Moore?
Aye.
Commissioner Lundy.
Okay, Domestic Relations, next item of business is number 19.
Approve the request of domestic relations court funding in the amount of $1,441,604.03 from the Ohio Department of Youth Services Reclaim Ohio grant that provides community-based services to court-involved youth and their families. This funding will provide for the salaries and benefit of the staff involved in the assessment center, Crossroads program, sex offender program, diversion, and predispositional services. The funding will also provide court-involved youth with MST services, wraparound services, counseling, and program maintenance costs to run the program.
Move to approve.
Second.
Motion was made by Hung, seconded by Moore. Any discussion from the board? Madam Clerk, please call the roll.
Commissioner Hung?
Yes.
Commissioner Moore?
Aye.
Commissioner Lundy.
Aye.
Okay, the Office of the Engineer, the next item of business is number 20.
Approve and engage the services K. McCartney and Associates, Inc. in the amount not to exceed $49,500 to assist with general engineering services to be paid from the engineer project account, and authorize the engineer to execute on behalf of the Board. Prosecutors approve as to form.
Move to approve.
Second.
Motion was made by Hung, seconded by Moore. Any discussion from the board? Madam Clerk, please call the roll.
Commissioner Hung?
Yes.
Commissioner Moore?
Aye.
Commissioner Lundy.
Aye.
Okay, TV Clinic. Next item of business is number 21.
Decision on declaring it necessary to levy a tax in excess of the 10 mil limitation to provide funds for the Lorraine County Tuberculosis Clinic to properly treat and cure tuberculosis residents for the care, treatment, and maintenance in accordance with the Ohio Revised Code 5705.20 for 5 years to be placed on the November 2nd, 2021 ballot for the duplicate year 2022, collectible in 2023. 1, 0.065 mil renewal. 2, 0.065 mil renewal with a 0.005 mil reduction for a 0.06 mils, or a 0.065 mil renewal with a 0.010 mil reduction for a 0.055 mil.
Okay, and I will move to open discussion.
Second.
Okay, discussion is now open. County Administrator Williams.
Yes, with this one, our account's healthy, so I believe we can do a small reduction on this as well. It's not much, but it is still a reduction as with what we have in reserves and what we're bringing in and what we're currently paying. I believe we could go with the smallest reduction and still meet the requirements for the county.
So, Mr. Administrator, if I'm looking at this, if we just renew per 100,000, the homeowners are paying 19 cents a month right now, correct?
Right.
Okay, so if we went with the reduction you're proposing, my notes have 1.175, which is basically 17 and a half cents.
Yeah.
Okay, and then the other one, the next one would be 16 cents. So, yeah, this is cut, per 100,000 is roughly less than 20 cents per homeowner.
Correct. And, with this being a little cautious, we could potentially go through and with the reserves, go to the lowest one, but then we would be asking for a potentially increase if, costs go up or if our contract changes. So going with the less reduction, I'm confident that we can use what we have in reserves and meet all our obligations.
I did call Auditor Snodgrass yesterday, and not to pin him down, but I think his opinion was leaning towards 1 or 2, what kind of then throwing it back to us.
Yeah.
I don't want to speak for him, but
Right. I mean, you can go through and you could say, well, we'll do the levy, a renewal, and then we could potentially forgive a year on that and let it go through. But, when you tell people, yeah, the government's going to forgive some taxes, they're not likely to believe that. So, but going through and doing a reduction is something that I believe comfortably we can live with. And again, it's a small reduction, but it is a reduction.
Commissioners?
Well, a lot of folks, just for background, we contract this out with Mercy,
Yes,
and I'm just trying to remember what our yearly spend. I know it was like somewhere in the $400,000 range.
correct.
So I'm also wondering, because they're always tinkering in Columbus with how things need to be worded on levies. I'm just wondering what the actual, is this the way the language would actually appear, renewal with a reduction? Is that the way the actual levy
Yes.
language would read?
Yes.
Okay. I just want to make sure we're covering our bases, that's all. I'm never gonna oppose a reduction. However, I just want to make sure then we don't turn around and go, we made a mistake here. We're not, covering the costs we need to cover, so. And people need to know tuberculosis is still around in, 2021. A lot of folks think it's something from the past, but there's still cases of it that surface.
Yeah, it's coming back with a surge along our borders,
Yeah.
so.
Yeah, as far as the cost, what I can do is I can tell you that I feel confident that our costs are met. As far as the legal aspect of it, Dan, would you like to weigh in?
I wanted to make sure we're clear that the levy language, the actual levy language will get submitted and approved through the Board of Elections.
right.
And then I'll pass off on that at the appropriate time, so that it probably will be a form substantial to what is there. But we'll,
I typed it like I usually do, so it goes to, and then the Secretary of State will come back and they'll change it like usual.
there's a
but-
process that,
Yeah.
just so we're clear that there's a process that still has to happen.
Yeah.
It's likely to look very much like that, but that's what will happen.
Yeah.
And based on the language that you've read so far on the 150-some pages, this rate reduction isn't gonna hurt.
In the interim final rule,
Yeah, interim, I love the word,
Yeah,
interim
final.
final rule, so. Because I believe it affects the state, but we are an extension of the state, but
okay,
we
let
are
me
a county.
answer that.
Okay.
Let me answer that. And I'm pausing for a second because this is maybe something we should discuss in executive session because it involves
Okay,
legal advice.
okay.
But it's up to the board. I can give you an answer if you want me to give you an answer.
I just think that the role that Commissioner Moore keeps referring to is, it's almost like saying you can't backfill should you reduce taxes in any way. So,
That's the open argument, right?
Yeah.
So, yeah,
Well,
yeah.
and like I said, I can, if you want, we can talk about it right now, and we can do an open session. It won't be complicated, but if not, we can do it later.
Well, is like I said, a reduction, I think a reduction is fine. I don't think it's going to have any impact on the rescue
That's why I was asking.
plan. I don't think.
Yeah,
I don't have a problem with you speaking in public.
do either of the other you two have a problem with me answering that
No,
question?
please.
All right. No, it won't. It shouldn't affect us at all because the two tax provisions that are at issue, the one that most people worry about is specifically dealing with grants to states. The other provision is a little bit more complex, I think that maybe what Matt's referring to, and that's in how you calculate anticipated loss on a going forward basis. As I understand this, it shouldn't affect either one of them.
Okay, that's what I was looking for. And what's the county administrator's recommendation?
To go with the
1, 2, or 3?
reduction, the renewal with the reduction, the smallest reduction. And again, we don't know what can happen, so just being very conservative by approach. Something happens and we have a spike that could eat through our reserves on it. But with what we have in there, we can do the small reduction and still meet our obligations as of today, and with a small spike.
These agreements with Mercy, I'm trying to recall, are they yearly or every 2 years? So we almost know what the fixed agreement is. I don't know.
I would have to look at that. I thought it was a multi.
An annual?
Three. It could be 3. It's either 3
Yeah, I
or a
thought-
year,
Okay.
but.
I have no idea.
Okay. Well,
Well, I'm supportive of number 2.
Commissioner Lundy?
yeah, I'm supportive of a reduction, and number 2, I think, gives us a close shave, but where we don't nick ourselves.
Okay, and I would support number 2 as well.
So do we close discussion?
Okay, second.
Oh, I guess I made a motion to close discussion?
Yep, and I seconded it, so we made a decision.
Well,
And then I will make a motion to approve that decision, and then Tracy, you'll fill this out, correct?
Yes.
Okay, second. We have to, I made the motion to approve this, what we decided.
So we're approving,
That,
declaring it necessary to levy a tax for 0.065 mil renewal with a 0.005 mil reduction.
correct.
Yeah.
You want a second?
second.
Okay,
I thought, okay, the way this is, we're declaring it necessary to levy a tax in excess of the 10 mil.
Yes,
That's how it has to be worded?
yes,
Okay. But all we're doing is we're actually doing a renewal with a reduction, correct?
correct.
Okay. Just making sure.
It's just levy language.
I know.
It'll kill you every time.
As long as it doesn't say no, if I voted no, you're voting yes, that's half the battle,
Right.
so, you know.
Yes.
okay. Any further discussion from the board on this matter?
You know, once again, the voters get to decide, right? So,
Okay. All right, Madam Clerk, please call the roll.
Commissioner Hung?
Yes.
Commissioner Moore?
Yes,
Commissioner Lundy.
aye.
Okay, moving on to reports. County Administrator, Mr. Tom Williams, there you are. You are here, you're ready.
I am, and you know, it's a great day because Cleveland Indians have now beat the Detroit Tigers twice in this series, and hopefully go for the sweep. So, always a good day when Michigan loses.
well,
So,
I still got that broom with the Tigers swept in my office if you want it back, so,
what's that?
never.
No, actually, want to thank our directors. Last week, we held a mayor's meeting here, just for the directors to come in and meet with the mayors. And want to thank the mayors that did attend. It was good. They got to learn about everything that we do here at the county, who the new faces are, and just make some connections as far as community development and, you know, solid waste being big ones for the community, but also internal context on who to contact if they need help with the county. So want to thank the mayors for attending and the directors for staying an hour late in order to meet with the mayors. So I do appreciate that. That's the end of my report.
That's all?
That's it. Simple. 1, 2,
Wow.
3. So.
All right. Okay, moving on to Assistant County Prosecutor, Mr. Dan Petticord.
I will be brief, Commissioner Hung. I don't have anything really to report. There is one new piece of litigation that was filed recently against the county that I would like to discuss with the board in executive session. So if we could move to discuss litigation in executive session, I would appreciate it.
Okay, we'll add that to that. Okay, are you all set then?
I am, thank you.
Okay, moving on to D, Commissioner's Report. Commissioner Lundy, do you have a report today?
Sure. First one to send out congratulations to the group that's working on the Lorraine Caboose restoration. They had a nice picnic down there, Black River Landing. I believe that was a week ago today. Nice turnout for that, putting together and restoring the old caboose down there. I think the last time it was in use was in 1985, and I think people always have good feelings when they're around trains and the cabooses and everything else. It brings back, you know, a lot of good memories as well. But they're doing a great job on the restoration, and it was good to see strong public support for that initiative. Continue to have discussions concerning a crisis receiving center that Mars and Licata are working on, along with the Nord Center. And that's a very important initiative in our community, and hoping everybody can get on the same page to bring that together and make it happen. As I continue to point out, we have an epidemic that is still running rampant throughout the county. During the pandemic, a lot of it's been made even worse as a result of the pandemic. People having mental health issues and addiction issues. And, you know, the research continues to show the co-occurrence of issues. So in other words, if somebody is battling mental health, some of the statistics are showing as much as as high as 80% of those who are battling a mental health issue. It's a result, it leads to a substance abuse issue as well. So that's an important one we need to keep on our radar screen. Attended the township trustee meeting where I pointed out I hope that Senator Manning and Representative Stein was also there, that our legislature will try to revisit this whole issue of annexation that always puts us in the hot seat. Quite frankly, wish annexation would go away, but it's here for now, and we have to deal with it on a regular basis. The American Rescue Plan Act, new information, I think, went out in a press release yesterday from the president of the board concerning Ohio now needing to take up that question. In Washington, they had a definition mistake that they made when it came to defining local governments. So now we're into the question of what's called non-entitlement units of local government. Talk about making things even more complicated to understand and decipher. I don't know if I've ever heard non-entitled units of local government before, but nonetheless, that needs to be addressed by the Office of Budget Management in Columbus. So hopefully they'll be able to come up with a solution to help our townships, and townships across the country were left out of that mix. We have 1,308 townships. There are 3 that appear to be qualifying for these funds because they actually have populations in excess of 50,000. So I've had some folks calling me about the American Rescue Plan and whether they'll be able to receive assistance. I don't know what the intentions are of the board, if we're wanting people to send us things in writing, if we're wanting them to call and meet with us individually, if we want them to come into the meeting room when we return to open meetings to express things that they think that we should be considering for support. But I know there's going to be a lot of decisions to be made on that moving forward, and I guess we can continue to talk about that and figure out what path we're going to take. The community protection team met again yesterday. Vaccinations are certainly up. The Vax-A-Million program is apparently working for the state of Ohio and for the governor, and I hope if any of my colleagues win, they'll at least take me out to lunch for the Vax-A-Million winners. Good event at El Centro was held recently where they worked with the health department to increase vaccinations in the Hispanic Latino community. 300 million Americans now have been vaccinated in the U.S., proving once again that these vaccines are safe. More children, unfortunately, the hospitals are reporting more younger adults are getting COVID. And so the encouragement is for those 12 and over by the health officials to make sure that they also get vaccinated as well, too. Some of the pharmacies have some stockpiles of vaccines because they were scheduling appointments individually. So you may want to even reach out to one of your local pharmacies. Obviously, these are free. And the Crushers open their season on Thursday night, game time 6:35, but I think opening at 4, that there's an opportunity for individuals to be vaccinated. If you're vaccinated, I understand you get $5 off on any a ticket to the game. I think ticket prices range from $10 to $12, so pretty much about 50% off on your ticket. So you may want to inquire by going to the Lorraine County Public Health site or to the Crushers site as well. That completes my report.
Thank you, Commissioner Lundy. On Tuesday, we received an email from the Ohio Township Association. Included in that email was the link to the notice that the U.S. Department of Treasury released guidance on the distribution of funds to non-entitlement units, NEUs. NEUs are defined in the Treasury's interim final rule as local governmental entities with 50,000 citizens or less. So in Lorraine County, the definition of NEUs cover all of our townships and several of our municipalities. For instance, last night I was talking to Mayor Corcoran, so he, out of North Ridgeville, so North Ridgeville having about 35,000 residents, this would fall, North Ridgeville would fall under this. But the statutory overview states Congress provided for the Treasury to make payments to the states to allocate and make this funding available to the smaller units of general local governments, the NEUs. State is required to allocate and distribute the local fiscal recovery fund payment received from the Treasury to each NEU in the state. It will be based on a formula outlined on the website they provided, which was included in the press release yesterday. So again, to review for accuracy for the public, the Treasury will make payments to the states from the local fiscal recovery fund for distribution to the NEUs. The states will then make payments to the NEUs and for our townships, and that's for our townships here in Lorraine County. So on a property acquisition update, Lorraine County Stormwater District meeting on April 27th, which I serve as the secretary on that board. In that meeting, we approved the acquisition of the Gerber property located just south of Lorraine Road on Route 83 in Eaton Township. Our stormwater director, Don Romanchik, brought the project idea to the Board of Commissioners in, it was either late January or early February. The Board of Commissioners gave Don the authorization to engage in a price negotiation with the seller, and after some back and forth, Don and the seller agreed to a price that was approved unanimously by the Board of Commissioners. The property encompasses 59.2 acres. Fortune Ditch crosses the southeast corner of the property. The Carpenter Ditch flows along the frontage on State Route 83. The property has large areas of floodplain that make any private development difficult, and Stormwater's intent is a retention basin project. Stormwater District will be partnering with the Lorraine County Port Authority for this project for financing, and the acquisition price was $295,000. Just wanted to thank Don Romanchik for a job well done on identifying of this project and bringing it up to us on the board. And lastly, I just have one thing to add to that. I was out at several meetings yesterday, and one of my meetings, which was a presentation done by Mr. Romanchik, which very well done, by the way, one of the audience members made the comment that they have been working on trying to get a project like this done for 10 years. 10 years. And that's not just Michelle Hung coming in and getting a project done. It's all of us. I'm going to share with you just a little bit of inside information here at the county. Our county administrator, Tom Williams, he comes to work every day and does a great job. Our team of directors that are direct reports to him do an outstanding job. And our support staff under those directors, thank you for the hard work that you do every day to keep this all rolling for the residents of Lorraine County. So yes, a new board has changed the landscape on how a project like this gets done or comes to fruition or comes to the board. But for so many years, yes, 10 years, as the commenter said last night, they did it one way. And for 10 years, he couldn't get anyone to listen or help with this particular issue at the county level. Nobody knows if this project would have even got to the point where it was presented to the board under the old administration. Heck, it didn't for the past 10 years. But the residents voted for change. We have a new board, we have a new administrator. Our employees are happy, productive, and getting their creative juices flowing, and they actually feel more comfortable coming to us with projects and ideas. So I just wanted to say, our team is doing a great job. We are delivering for the residents, and we will continue to do so. Thank you. That concludes my report. Commissioner Moore.
Thank you. On Saturday, I attended the United Properties 50th anniversary as a company in the city of Lorraine. Very well attended. I heard some very positive feedback from some of the elected officials in the city of Lorraine in regards to the relationship that the county and the city is now experiencing, which I take as a compliment since we're all in it together. So naturally with Mayor Bradley and Tony Giardini and myself, there was a lot of fun going back and forth on digging, but it was a very well attended event in regards to John Viard, who has given so much back to the city of Lorraine. I've talked to other people. With sometimes the abuse he's taken, I'm surprised he stayed, but he really he really cares. And there was a very emotional speech that was given in regards to the employees that were there and John himself. And really, it was John Veer that approached me and told me about the Valor Home that said they were short because of the high costs of lumber and what have you, and that they would have to send back the $600,000 that was already approved. So it was really, it was really John that gave me that information. We have a new convention and tourism director, Gary Gibbs, and he has hit the ground running. And between him and our Port Authority and even our solid waste director, it's a good team. They're working on, trying to find some locations and get some information in regards to convention centers and whether and where that could be placed. Gary's working on bringing back the air show for next summer in July. He's trying to put something together. He has 40 years experience in this kind of stuff, so he kind of knows how to put these deals together. So, like I said, like Commissioner Hung said, our team is doing a lot of work. Now, we are kind of in the first stages now of creating a crisis center for the whole county. I've been talking to a lot of the hospital leaders, the Nord Center. On June 1st, we'll have a new executive director at the Mars facility. There'll be some new board members coming into the Mars board. I have not yet met this new executive director, but it's like herding cats. They've been talking for years about a crisis center. So I kind of dove in and started figuring out, hopefully, that we can break ground in the next 12 months. Now, I know Commissioner Lundy might think that's crazy because I know he's been working on this for probably 4 years to get this thing going. But I have stated that we will build it, and we will fix out why it's stalled for so long. I have people that are willing to donate $1 million to this project, but they don't even know who to write the check to. Right now, it seems like everybody is starting to come together. We're in the middle of this, so I'm not going to go into too much more detail, except that it is starting to come together, and it'll be something that not only this board, but the nonprofits, the hospitals, and our community will be very proud of. And again, I'm going to do another advertisement. We have a lot of boards. If anyone's interested in serving, we are always kind of looking for help and to help us serve on these boards. So I'm looking forward to meeting the new executive director and the Mars board here, it's coming up in June, believe June 1st. So, okay, let's see. We have, I got some data in regards to the ERA, the Emergency Rental Assistance Program. Back when this program came out, I know, like this is actually one of my businesses, so I asked a peer in the housing industry if he would, if he had any tenants that were past due, if he'd want to try this and kind of go through and help us out with the bugs, because it was a new program. He is very hesitant because, as most private individuals know, they really don't want to work with the government. They don't trust the government, and they know it takes forever. But he said yes. And he knew it, he knew it might take a while to get paid, but he did. I asked him if he'd be my guinea pig, and he did. So what started to happen is he would call me up and advise me of bottlenecks that were going on. And we would follow up through Tom Williams, Tim Carrion, and the team at Job and Family and work on those bottlenecks. The reason why I kind of reached out to this individual is he has the largest social media network for housing and rentals in Lorain County. That is why, when I said months ago when this came out, why so many people applied, was because of this individual promoting it. And he has over 30,000 followers on these rental sites, which is 4,000 more than the Chronicle Telegram has. So after a few weeks, his tenants submitted their applications, and he started to find issues, and then we started to, started working them out. So what happened, what some of the numbers are as of today, we have about 594 applications for a total of $1.5 million sitting in queue at Job and Family Services. The number of applications, funding, and approved status is 132 at 552,000. Number of applicants that were taken care of, 161 at 698,000. But with the difference, there's 1.3 that's been submitted to the auditor with 700. So you still got roughly about 500,000 sitting with the auditor. So we're still working as employees are doing at Job and Family to work out their bugs. I can't really control the auditor's office. It seems to be taking 2.5 weeks on an average to get those checks out. Just to let people know that's kind of what's going on with the status. Because again, the biggest complaint prior to this starting from the private sector is how long is it going to take to get our checks? We currently have some vendors that are helping us in Columbus and trying to get funding for this county that has yet to be paid. It's been 90 days. I've asked the county administrator to kind of work on that for me. Now, I've been in this real estate world since 1986. Got out of college and jumped right into it. And I had two choices: to make really low pay, wear a suit and tie, or flip burgers for twice the pay. So I'm glad I made the decision I did. I can tell you right now, I know how private sector businesses feels about government promises and government programs. They'll use them if it can help them, but they like to be left alone. So I appreciate my friend who decided to become the guinea pig. So I'm trying to overcome those fears for people, because the biggest pushback I'm getting from the private sector is this is really not our problem. It's the tenants' problem. They're the ones that aren't paying. Why should we participate? They owe us the money, and they say we're never going to get paid anyway. I mean, you just hear it, and I keep pushing it, saying, guys, this is a great program. You can help your tenants get out of the jam that they're in. I mean, this program is here to help tenants get caught up and ahead so they can get on their feet from this government shutdown that we've experienced. So I'll give you an example of one of my tenants that went through this process. It put me in a tough spot because they have 5 kids. She lost her job due to COVID, and it disappeared. And she was pregnant, and then after 2 months of pregnancy, she found out she had cancer. And so they made some tough decisions to do chemo. As a landlord, you do get notifications when their gas is getting shut off, their electric's getting shut off. So she's going through chemo. And basically, you got good people that were going through some bad times. So I heard it firsthand, and it wasn't an easy process for them to go through, but it was a process that they are very thankful for. So basically, these tenants do appreciate this type of assistance. Usually you go, what I've noticed in the past, places such as the Nord Center, Catholic Charities, and then there's some other organizations I won't mention that are geared towards certain types of illnesses that usually assist these people that need help. The problem is they run out of funds quickly. So usually, like I was talking in, I think 2 weeks ago, I think we're okay. I think most people are okay right now because, number one, the government is paying people not to work. So when this stops, the federal dollars stop coming in July, what's going to happen is we're going to have some tough times ahead. And I'm glad that this program got pushed back for the winter, because in the wintertime is usually when people are struggling. You have Thanksgiving and Christmas. People get laid off over the holidays, and it becomes very difficult to get by in the wintertime. But right now, I'm talking to quite a few people, and they don't have the delinquencies that you hear about in the paper, like in New York and L.A., where they froze evictions. The evictions were opened up here, and they're still going on. But our team has gone out and talked to these legal, the magistrates and what have you, to notify them of this project. They know about this process. And so the tenants that are in need are actually receiving help. And I can tell you right now from personal experience, these people are grateful. So what happened is last night the Chronicle Telegram has done a public records request in regards to the Emergency Rental Assistance Program. They're requesting all businesses who is receiving funds, all landlords who are receiving funds. This is a new program. If they intend to embarrass me, good luck. You're not going to. But their intention may be a political hit job, but what they're doing is if all these other business owners, if they see this, they don't have to agree to this program. And then what's going to happen is the people that really need the help are not going to get the help, because at the end of this term, we're going to have to send this money back. We have $15 million that we can help people in Lorain County, and they're extending that date. The hypocrisy of the Chronicle is amazing to me. On February 17th, I exposed tons of emails, which what they want to make that the issue. But the real issue that I exposed was how they were using certain systems, like let's say the destruction of laptops. Made page A3 in a paragraph. The destruction of emails of 130,000, A3 of in a small paragraph. We talked about several things that made a lot of news. Maybe that was that was the largest hit on our YouTube channel. That's what I call it. 3,600 people watch that. But since then, an average of 100 to 200 people watch these meetings. So what we're dealing with is on February 17th, the Chronicle has yet to do a public records request on certain activities that should have been front page news. They have yet to ask for it. But then they do a hit piece on our county administrator last week, and we decided why even acknowledge that type of a hit piece. They did a public records request on Tom Williams' email from 2014, which we found out all that stuff, he didn't really have to give up, but he did. 6 emails, 1 he responded to, front page news. We ignored it. What happens the next day? The Chronicle does an editorial because we ignored it. They have yet to ask about true crap that's been going on here. And I asked the prosecutor, if you saw him talking earlier, I asked him, have they asked for a public records request on what we expose? Not yet. So what's going to happen next is this. They're doing a hit piece. It's the art of political destruction. I'm fine with it. Hey, I'm going to hit 60. I'm at that point where I am fine with it. That's the game when you get in the field like this. But what's going to happen is this. The fact is that I call it the Democrat Party or the Chronicle Telegram. The bottom line is this is going to hurt renters. Private landlords and businesses are going to say, wow, look what they're doing to Moore. I don't want to be a part of that. I don't want my name in the paper. So guess what? They don't have to sign one document that says, will you participate and help these tenants stay in their home? Huh. After the hit piece that I think is going to be coming because they did a public records request on this list, but not on what I exposed on the 17th, yeah, I expect some nasty stuff, which is fine. I'm not running soon. I'm here to stay for quite a while, and I do plan on running for re-election. So I'm fine with this. But what I don't like is how they're using this art of political destruction, and they're going to be harming citizens of this county that needs the money. And that's what drives me nuts when they play these type of games. That's the end of my report. Thank you for allowing me to speak.
Thank you, Commissioner Moore. The next item is E, the clerk's report. Madam Clerk, do you have a report?
Okay, Tuesday, June 1st at 9:30, we'll have a commissioners meeting for the vacation hearing of Caper Road and the second hearing in the CDBG. And then on Wednesday, June 2nd, I'm assuming 6 p.m. commissioners meeting?
Yes, ma'am.
Okay.
Okay, our next item of business is F, board correspondence. I move to waive the reading of the board correspondence due to a lengthy executive session we have scheduled, and boy, is it a long board correspondence. Not going to make you read that, Teresa.
Second, if it's a short executive.
I will make it as short as I can, Commissioner. Madam Clerk, please call the roll.
Commissioner Hung?
Yes.
Commissioner Moore?
Aye.
Commissioner Lundy.
Aye.
At this time, I move to adjourn into executive session to discuss personnel issues, employment and new hires, and pending litigation.
Second.
Madam Clerk, please call the roll.
Commissioner Hung?
Yes.
Commissioner Moore?
Aye.
Commissioner Lundy.
Aye.
Okay, welcome back. We've returned from executive session and our meeting is back in order. Back in session, I move to approve the personnel summary sheet.
I'll second.
Motion was made by Hung, seconded by Moore. Madam Clerk, please call the roll.
Commissioner Hung?
Yes?
Commissioner Moore?
Aye.
Commissioner Lundy.
Aye.
Okay, meeting announcements. Our next regularly scheduled board meeting is Wednesday, June 2nd, 2021 at 6 PM. Who's ready for 6 PM? Okay, just some instructions from Administrator Tom Williams is to park on the top level of the parking deck. And there will be signs for entrance and directions for you to follow, and we will also post that on Facebook for your viewing pleasure. So is there any further business from the board? Okay, since there's no further business, this meeting is adjourned.